YouTube, welcome back to another video, and in this video I'm going to break down the perfect training program for this upcoming winter. Okay, months are here where things are getting colder. It's currently the 23rd of September, so I'm already noticing that the mornings are getting a little bit cold. I was on the school run this morning with my sister. I've got no children that I know of, and 8 a.m. it was cold, really cold, as in coat, heating in the car, and we went off. So these few months are going to be difficult. It can be very difficult, or you can make the most of it if you're proactive and have a plan and structure to follow. So that is what I'm going to sort of talk you through at the moment. So a training split that builds strength, fitness, and discipline this winter. Now, most people lose consistency in the winter. It becomes dark. It becomes, I think with the summer, you're working towards a big goal visually mainly, or a race of, at the end, this is how I'm going to be. This is the outcome. Boom, boom, boom. Brilliant. It's now there. You've done it. Wicked. Now, as these next few months, it's colder. There's no initial outcome goal within the next sort of few months because most people aren't dieting over the winter. Most people aren't doing sort of marathons or ultra marathons or triathlons over the winter. You know, it's a little bit longer, so it can be a little bit more of a long-term game. So people sort of slack off, dark mornings, cold weather. So it can be very easy to. But instead, I would be utilizing this time period to get ahead of the game to make sure that when that next year does come round, you're not starting from scratch again. You're not just transitioning because you've built a solid base. So the split that I'm going to go through here will give you a balance, not having to spend hours and hours in the gym, 2-3 hours a session. It's going to give you progress, discipline, and like with anything, it's going to allow you to stay ahead of others. So why is it you need a plan? Okay, now I've spoken about this plenty of times, but random sessions is going to equal random results, or random sessions is going to equal limited results. Okay, because ultimately, if we want to implement progressive overload and progress, okay, so each week we want to be getting stronger in the gym. This is what we want to use these next winter months for. So if we know week 1 we did 40 kilograms for 8, week 10 we did 50 kilograms for 8, we know we have lifted 10 kilos more. Simple maths, okay? Whereas if week 1, and that's on a dumbbell press, if on week 1 we do a dumbbell press, 40 kilograms for 8, week 2 we then do a flat bench press, which is a different movement. Week 3 we do a chest press. Week 4 we don't go to the gym. Week 5 we do the flat dumbbell press again, but we go for high rep range because we're training with a mate. Week 6 you then go onto a Smith machine because you thought, well, that looks quite good. You can see it's just all over the place. Okay, yeah, you're providing a stimulus to your muscle, but you're not able to actually track the metric of I get stronger, which is the main aim. So this split was going to create you this structure and purpose each week, trying to implement some form of progression. Now, it can be reps, it can be weight, but it can also be execution. It can also be form. It can also be just feeling better after that set. It wasn't about to kill. It was an RPE. It wasn't an RPE of 10 where you thought, oh my goodness me, I couldn't have done another one even with a gun to my head. It might have been a 7 or an 8, which is progress. Okay, so you want something that you can go into the gym, walk in, know exactly what you need to do. Okay, now if we look at it from a strength training foundation, which is the main foundation going into this training block, okay, training 4 times a week is going to be a optimal balance. Okay, I don't use the word optimal, but it's going to give you enough of a stimulus, enough time to progress, and enough time to recover without sacrificing normal everyday life. Okay, it's going to allow you to hit every muscle group twice a week because that is going to provide a more frequent stimulus to each muscle group, which is going to give us a far better return on investment. The best way I like to see it is if you could train your chest once a week, every year, every week of the year, it's 52 times in a year. Okay, if you were to train it twice in a week by breaking up that session, maybe on a Monday and then a Thursday instead of all on a Monday, you're then training that muscle group 104 times a week. That's probably going to give you more of a stimulus and provide you with better results. As well as that, obviously, when you then go back into on a Thursday, you're more fresh, so you can progress more, you can lift heavier, you can connect more with your pecs, for example. If you do all of that on a Monday, chances are after exercise 3, your intensity and ability to actually produce high quality sets is going to drop. Okay, so that's why I enjoy 4 training sessions per week, 2 times per week for each muscle. It's also going to give you enough volume and intensity for growth. You're not having to do 5 sets on an exercise, 10 to 15 reps. It's far too much, quality over quantity. It's going to give you enough time to recover in between. And it's going to give you that long-term strength foundation, which you can then obviously come into next year when you then maybe go back into your triathlon training block or your marathon training block, okay, because you've built the foundations in these winter months. Let's move myself out the way slightly. So the aim of the sessions, the main aim with these sessions, as I've spoken about, is to get as strong as possible across the board. So most of the rep ranges are going to be a little bit lower, so anywhere from sort of 5 to 8 repetitions for our main compound lifts. They're the movements that are going to be our bread and butter. They're going to be our overhead presses, our vertical presses, horizontal presses, our pulling movements, our rows, squats, hinges, the big lifts, the best return on investment. We're then going to obviously have some accessory movements, which are going to help increase volume to desired muscle tissues. So that could be from an aesthetic perspective, or it could be from a weakness perspective. If we know that our glutes are very weak and we're a runner, well, we can then put a little bit more volume into our glute work in the accessories, okay, for example. Or we could start off with a hinge or a hip thrust, because that's an area we need to improve on. Okay, now this training split is going to be split into upper body and lower body. So it'll be upper, lower, and then a rest, upper, lower. Obviously, that's how I would split it, but you can obviously diverse that if you need to, depending on maybe other things that you like to do. But like I say, this is going to allow you 2 times per week to train each muscle group, and that's obviously going to allow you plenty of recovery in between. So you do upper on a Monday, you then rest your upper body with your Tuesday lower body session. Wednesday, a little bit of cardio, which is not too demanding. Thursday, you've recovered, you can go again with your upper body. Friday, you recovered from Tuesday, you can go again with your lower body. So that's typically how I would sort of think about things. Now, power of conditioning. So we've got 2 training sessions per week, which cover cardiovascular work. So we've got 1 higher intensity interval training, which you can see is a bit more explosive and more in the anaerobic zone. So a bit of a higher heart rate percentage. And then we've got 1 lower intensity steady state, which is more aerobic building, endurance, and recovery. So I have done a lot of lower intensity steady state stuff. So, like your long, easy, slow runs, your zone 2 training, especially coming off ultra marathon preps, even the Ironman prep, a lot of that was zone 2, which is why I've implemented some higher intensity stuff, because it's a weakness and it's something I want to focus on. So that is why I've put this into the program, but I've still kept in the low, slow, long stuff, and that's going to be a nice, easy long run. Okay, because I still want to keep some endurance. I still want to keep my training cardio-wise, because next year I don't want to have to start from scratch. I still want to have a solid base. Okay, both of these are going to allow us to be stronger, fitter, and more resilient. It's also going to help with recovery as well. If we're more cardiovascularly fit, we're going to recover better in between our working sets. So, if you do your first working set on a chest press, if you're cardiovascularly fit, you're going to be able to recover it a lot quicker and better going into your second set. So that is the power of conditioning. Now, why this split in the winter months? So 4 strength sessions is going to allow us plenty of time to progress. There's not huge amounts of exercises. It's not like 10 exercises on upper body, 10 on lower body, beat yourself up. It's selective. There's a reason as to why they've all been put together like that. But ultimately, you want to be trying to aim for progression each week, whether it's repetitions or increase in weight or some of the other ways you can obviously implement progress. 2 cardio sessions, because we still want fitness, obviously mental resilience as well, getting out there if it's cold, if you long run. I also enjoy a long run just from a social, like on a Sunday, going out with your mates, doing a long run, nice easy zone 2, grabbing a coffee and maybe a bit of breakfast after. Highlight of my day on a Sunday, get home for Super Sunday, day of football. Doesn't sound much better than that. And then obviously we've got 1 day of complete rest, which is just focused on obviously recharge, recovery, and overall growth. Enough variety, stay motivated as well. So we've got a combination of everything. You've got your big compound lifts at the start of the sessions, then some more accessory work and some pump work as well to finish towards the end. And then also you obviously got 1 high intensity training session, which is more short, sharp, but high bursts, and then you've got 1 low intensity, which, like I said, can be a bit more social and not quite as demanding. And it's also giving you that structure where week by week, right, perfect, this is what I need to do. Lovely, I can walk in the gym and do exactly what I need to do. And this is going to allow you to potentially, by like the springtime, feel fitter, be more disciplined, and just in time for that race season. So if you are wanting to download this guide, then all you need to do is head to the description in the bio, click the link in the description, and there where you can download the complete winter training guide for free. Just pop your email address in. What you will get is obviously a full week upper body, lower body training program with the 2 cardio workouts. You'll also have some nutritional bits in there as well on terms of how to set that up. And then also some recovery bits and a few more bits of information to just allow you to get the most out of it. Okay, because I appreciate it can be very hard over these winter months where motivation is a bit lower. So if this guide can give you that structure and something for you to follow, then that's a win-win. Okay, now if you want to go one more, sort of book in something a little bit more specific and a little bit more tailored, then you can jump on a free call with myself. Again, the link is in the description, whereby it's a call for me to understand sort of where you're at, where you're trying to get to, and then talk you through the coaching process and how that all works. So if you want to jump on a call, like I say, again, you can click the link in the bio down below, and yeah, we can jump on a call completely free. So if we enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.